Hello, everybody. This is Aviatická Talk about our air show, which is moved to Hradec Králové for 2026. And my guest here is Eskil Amdal. He's CEO of Flying Bulls and mainly test pilot. Hi, Eskil.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Yeah, good. Good to see you again.
Yeah. Thank you. You are here. I would like to introduce you because you are very experienced test pilot and you flew almost everything, which is something I a little bit envy to you. Eskil flew also Starfighter and F-35, but today we will talk mostly about historical planes. Eskil, how your career start and did you always dream about flying or it was just a decision later on?
Yeah, so I think I was probably 10 or 11. I started flying model airplanes, radio controlled ones, and then that took me to an air show locally, and so the interest was there, but I didn't think about flying as a pilot as such until 2, 3 years later. And my cousin was in the army. He landed a helicopter in our farm, and
Mm.
from then on, that was it for me. So I really thought that okay, I have to try this. I'm not sure if I'm good enough to get in, but I have to try, and that was the start. Out of 27 years in the Air Force after that.
Mm. And what types did you fly in Air Force?
So we start out when you pass all the tests. You start out with something called a sub safari, which is like a shoulder wing side by side little propeller with an IO 360. Fly that for about 40 hours, and then if you pass that, then you go to the States. And I flew the T-37 and the T-38. Those two types in a year and a half, and then. But my goal then and my baby became the F-16 for almost 20 years. So that was the main platform I flew in the Air Force. I did 3 years as an exchange pilot with the Royal Air Force. I was flying a Tornado F3 for 3 years, including the Hawk as well. The Red Arrows Hawk before that, but yeah, and that was before the test pilot school, and then and then there just more and more different types when I went into testing.
Yeah. So you were selected for test pilot school in US?
Yes, I did the US Navy test pilot school in 2008, and yeah, class 134. That was a wonderful experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so. So, which type, not all of them, but which was the interesting types you flew in the test pilot school?
Yeah, so I think we flew about 25 different types that year. And the main job was on flight test techniques and performance and all that. It was on the T6 Texan 2 with a turboprop, and then the T-38. But apart from that, I flew the P-3 Orion X-26 glider. I flew the MiG-15, the Beaver, B-25, Stearman. I flew, and my graduation exercise was the P-51. So that was my final master degree, which was due in 8 days after we first flew. The P-51 was two different P-51s, and we flew them. So aerobatics. We flew simulated attacks and everything, and then we delivered the final report on the airplane. And that was my way into warbirds, and I was quite strategic in that because I always wanted to fly, warbirds, and specifically the Mustang, I guess. And And it's hard because, you know, you got to find an airplane, you got to find an owner, you got to find an insurance company that will all give you a thumbs up before you can get into this kind of thing. And it's difficult, but it worked in the end.
I would like to stay for a while with jets because you are flying two very interesting types. First is Starfighter F104. So in Norway is or in Sweden, I don't know.
In Norway, yeah.
In Norway. So you did some test flying with this beast. How was it?
Yeah. So I mean, after about 10 years of restoration, the team came to me, and I was very honored, and I was very pleased that they asked me to be a part of it. And I thought then we'd fly within 6 months or a year, but it took another 6 years before we actually flew the airplane, and I was part of the operational side of it. So I wrote most of the manuals and everything, and I had to talk to a lot of people because there is no simulator, nothing. So I really needed to read all the books, which was wonderful. You know, they're all stunk of cigarettes and everything. You know, these were old books from the 60s. You know, and really heavily used by everybody on the squadron who flew the airplanes. And so I needed to talk to people to get a little bit of a feeling how how the airplane flew, you know, and because you can read a lot in the books about specifics and technical terms, but you know, it's often when you fly an airplane, you know, you wish that I wish that someone told me this, or you know, the fact that it's really light in roll but really heavy in pitch. You know, these are things that that you get to know from people just by talking to them, but. A lot of people that flew it, you know, they haven't flown it for 30, 40 years, right? So you really needed to know the details too, because the details and the technical aspects and limitations and stuff about the airplane, they don't change. You know, they are part of what's written in the books, and I needed to know them, of course. And then I got. Finally, we got on a permit to fly, and this is a wonderful summer afternoon in September, and even before the paper was cold of the permit to fly, I think the engine was running, and we took off westbound out of Bodø airfield, which is north of the Arctic Circle, and it was absolutely incredible, and even I had to come back on the power because I was outrunning the F-16 chase aircraft that was trying to catch me. But so it was just incredible in all the different ways. Yeah.
Yeah. What is the approach landing speed with Starfighter?
Yeah, so it's about, if you got the full flaps all the way down, you come in about 180 knots for a touchdown. But that's the best case, you know, because if you get takeoff flap, you know, you're coming up 30, 40 knots, and then and if a no flap landing is generally about 260, 270 knots plus. And an extremely shallow approach, right? But the trouble is that, you know, you're starting to fly faster than the tire speed is certified for, you know, and you can't pull a chute either, because if you pop the chute will just rip out of the machine. So, but if you get the flaps down 180 knots, it's not too bad, and it's a beautiful airplane to fly. It's a little bit nervous in roll, especially when the tip tanks are empty. But the real difference is that you cannot go idle, as you know, when you flare an extra or an Airbus or whatever, you know, you come to an idle, and then you flare it, the last part of it. But the issue with the Starfighter is if you do that, you kill the lift and you stall instantly, because of the blown flap, the BLC system. So you have to fly it all the way down. you kind of cushion the landing a bit with a speed brake, but when you put it down, you have to touch down, then go idle. So that's really mentally what you need to think about and do things differently. And that's so I was very aware of this. I actually had a pulse, like a heart rate monitor, and we didn't get cabin pressure, and there's a few different things that happened. But my pulse was about 80, 85 throughout the whole thing. But for the landing, it recorded 142 because I was mentally quite stressed about this landing in this airplane. But it was some of the smoothest landings I've done in my life.
I believe so. You were so concentrated.
Yeah, that's it.
I can imagine. Yeah, nice. Thank you for sharing because it's so interesting, and I think almost no one can imagine, and we can experience it a little bit with you. So it's nice. Thank you. And you have also very unique experience because you flew F-35, which Czech Republic will buy. We will have, I don't know, 24 pieces. So I think the people will be interested. So how this very new machine can fly? What is the difference, and why is so interesting?
Yeah, no, it's so I had many years in the F-16, which the F-35 has taken a lot of things from. I also flew the F-18, a bit of test pilot school. And I can see the things are coming from there as well, because this, the F-35 was going to replace both of them and possibly also take over for the F-15. So it's and the A-10. So there's a lot of things coming together, and a lot of compromises from the Marine Corps, U.S. Marine Corps, the Navy, all the different partners, and so it's not an easy job to create an airplane that everybody likes in the end. So I would say that it is an incredible aircraft. There's no doubt about the fact that it's probably the best one out there to do the multitude of missions. It's not a pure air-to-air fighter like the F-22, for example, but what the range it can do, it can pull 9 Gs, 1.6 Mach and beyond, and so all these things are incredibly impressive, and the flight control system is some of the most impressive things about the airplane as well. And it is an engineering marvel as well, because you are so integrated with the airplane, including the helmet. There's no HUD, because the HUD is integrated into the helmet. When you go into the different modes, you can look through the airplane. You see rivers and mountains when you look down through your legs and through the airplane, and so it is incredible. And the systems, the radar and the yachts and all those systems together are fused together in an incredible way. It's some years since I flew it now. I was mainly there as a test pilot, and I was part of the team that certified the drag chute. And so I flew a very, very basic F-35 in flight test, but also I flew some of the early production models and trained the full training. So it is an incredible airplane, and also you become an incredible cooperation with all the other F-35 users in Europe. That's also very important from a military point of view and from a political point of view, and But the airplane is incredible to fly. 50 degrees alpha, which is it's about twice what the F-16 could do, and you can do pedal turns. You can sit at 50 alpha and you just, turn the airplane around as it falls down with 10, 15,000 feet a minute. But, and it's very, very impressive. Yeah.
I like these pedal turns, but I do it with carbon cap.
yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
But it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. It's so interesting. Now I would like to move us to warbirds, and especially warbirds which are sitting in Hangar 7, Hangar 8 in Salzburg, Flying Bulls, which you are now CEO of this company. And so there is many so interesting types. And the new one is the F8F Bearcat.
Yeah.
How is she?
Yeah, no, the Bearcat's amazing, and all of the airplanes are amazing, as you know, Jan. And it's a true privilege to be able to look after them, you know, for the future generations, and the best thing that we are in a position to fly them and to show them to people, enthusiasts, and hopefully inspire young generations. And as you say, the latest warbird is the Bearcat. And I you know, personally, I always wanted to know how it flies and everything, and I guess, you know, most people do. It's not as famous as maybe the Mustang, Spitfire, and the warbirds and such, because the Bearcat was always it was going a little bit too late to see any action like this, but it was like the ultimate one that Grumman built, and they decided to build it by themselves. It wasn't a government program, but they wanted to build something that the ultimate piston fighter could be, with inspiration from the Focke-Wulf and obviously what they built before, you know, and I guess it still has the record for the fastest climbing piston fighter, propeller fighter. So it is. The gear speed is 140 knots, so you cannot do a conventional takeoff. You can't just lift the tail and continue on to a flat speed, because you will overspeed the gear. So, you know, the takeoff is a little bit different. You have to be, you almost take off in a 3-point attitude and climb very steeply to get the gear up. And then when they get the gear up, then you can obviously then bunt over gear, gain more speed and climb. But you know, it's a lot lighter than the Corsair, for example, and it has the same engine. So it's very, very fast. It's very smooth, and it's just built around the pilot. It's very, very tiny cockpit, and you know, I'm not that big. You know, I'm 170. I used to be 179 after my Sea Fury landing. I'm 177. But
My God. Sorry, because people don't know you had the emergency landing with Sea Fury.
Yeah. No, but it's yeah, I broke my back, but I'm a little bit shorter now, but that's okay. You know, I'm still here. I still, you know, get to fly these airplanes. So, but yeah, no, it's an incredible airplane. It's the more on the Bearcat, the landing gear is really wide, so it's one of those. It's total opposite of a Spitfire or a Messerschmitt 109, for example, because they are really, you know,
narrow,
sensitive and narrow on the ground. And the Bearcat is much wider, and it can take a ton of crosswind. And so the only thing is that it's not great on grass. You have to make sure that the grass is really hard and dry, because the tire pressures are high, and you know because it needs to have space to get into the wings. The tires are really narrow, so it's not an off-field airplane. But it was built to be on a carrier, right, on a rock hard, solid carrier deck. So. Yeah.
You mentioned Sea Fury. It's a similar category. So can you compare it?
Yeah, I think you can. You know, the ailerons are constructed in the similar way, and the way they feels in terms of stick forces and speed and performance is actually quite similar. Yeah, even though the Sea Fury is much bigger, they feel flying wise characteristics in a similar way. So, and the Sea Fury was the same. Towards the end of the war, it's like the ultimate transition from the Hawker Hurricane, and then the Hawker basically went the Fury, and then the Sea Fury. So there are two examples of the ultimate piston fighters that we made before we went into jets.
Yeah, thank you. What is your favorite type in Flying Bull's collection? It can be difficult to say.
It's
you don't have to pick one.
No, I mean, it's I think the Lightning is always going to be very, very special, because there's very few flying in the world, and our November 25 Yankee is it is the only one flying in Europe, and then it's and for me too, it's very special to be able to fly the first Lightning and the latest Lightning. The one I haven't flown is the electric Lightning, which is in the middle, but having flown the American Lightning 1 and Lightning 2 is very special. But obviously, I cut my teeth on the Mustang, and Nuki Buki is absolutely wonderful too. And if I had the money to buy one aircraft, it would be a Corsair. And so the Corsair is always going to be very special. It's such a cool machine, nice and gentle to fly. It's fast, and it just looks amazing and sounds amazing. And but then again, now here comes the Bearcat too. So maybe that's a future favorite. I don't know. It's always good, and it's the favorite one is the one that you're allowed to fly on the same at the same time at the day. So which one you're sitting in is the favorite.
That's very true. And I suppose you will fly Bearcat in Hradec Králové 30-31 May on our air show.
That's the plan. We're putting it back together. We had a really, really good look. We X-rayed the wing spar, and that's all good. And we just it's like always like this when you get an airplane. We have the resources and the knowledge of the engineers here, and they're really good. And so they have a really good look. So I obviously trust them with my life, and and we take the time to make sure that we know the airplane before we start taking it out to the public and displaying it. So they're putting it back together now. We got all the parts. The world is struggling with parts at the moment, but we got everything now. So we're putting it together, and it should fly in a few weeks.
I look forward to it. Please send us something from the very first flights, because we love it, and people will love it too. And we are very looking forward to see you and whole Flying Bulls fleet in Hradec Králové Aviatická Air Show. I'm still using, because for 33 years it was Pardubice Air Show. I'm still have to think about it. Not to say Pardubice, but say Hradec Králové, which we are grateful to.
And if you struggle, what do you think I'm struggling? Struggling even to say it, but we are very happy to be planning to come, and so we can't wait. So we'll see you all there.
And very last question, because you are also test pilot for Messerschmitt 109er, which should come to Pardubice, but unfortunately it didn't happen. Do you think it will happen in future?
I think it will happen in the future. I think we were very close last time. It's a very small team, and Messerschmitt 109s are very dependent on a very few parts in the world, and some parts you cannot find anymore, sadly, and you have to make them, and all this stuff is very, very fragile, and last time we couldn't make it in time, and that was very sad. We should fly the airplane again, I think, very soon this year, and I think the more we fly, the more we have shaken out the small little things, and we can really say with confidence that this is now transferring from a flight test point of view towards a normal operation of a warbird, and with the pluses and minuses that I have, but we really want to make sure Mats and the team in Hangar 10, you know, that we are confident in the airplane, that this is sort of a minimal risk to do for me, or, you know, whoever is lucky enough to fly it and display it and show it to the people. But because the engineering was amazing, and an airplane is incredible to fly. It sounds incredibly nice, and it's so such a privilege for me too to compare the different types, and the people need to see it. So for sure it will happen. I cannot guarantee that it's going to happen this year, but we're getting there, and please have patience with us on this.
Yeah, and tell me, how is to fly the Messerschmitt 109er? Is the different with other warbirds, or?
Yeah, so it's probably closer to a Spitfire than it is a Mustang. You know, you can tell that the design was, you know, late 30s and early 40s. You know, so you have to. It's a bit more involved. You can't just let go of the stick and it'll fly straight for a minute. You know, like the Mustang. You know, you really have to be hands-on flying it all the time, from taxiing it to the takeoff and the landing, and so and the engine also. I mean, it's a full-blown race engine, right? So it's very angry, and with, you know, a lot of the American warbirds had metal props, so there's a lot of rotating inertia, and the Messerschmitt doesn't. You know, it had a wooden prop, and now some of these are composites, or you know, so they're much lighter. So the spool up time is quicker. So you have to be gentle to not to do anything abruptly, because the little brother will give up very quickly, and then he'll take it off the runway. So. But it flies incredibly nice. You know, the automatic slats and everything is it was a very advanced design at the time, compared to the Spitfire, and so yeah, it is an incredible airplane. But you have, like any of them, you know, I think, you know, I'm slightly nervous every time I fly one of these things, and I think it's really important to have that respect. And the day I feel that I will stop flying them, because they're out to kill you every time. So, you know, and if you approach them with this attitude, I think, you know, you'll be good. But most of these airplanes, they don't have any backup systems or anything like that. So then you need to have a backup plan. So. But yeah, no, they are wonderful, and the Messerschmitt is definitely one of them, equally as wonderful as the others.
Eskil, thank you very much for a perfect chat. I would like to continue, but we have some time slot for it. So thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your wonderful experience, because it's very interesting for me and for people which seeing us. And I'm looking forward to meet you again in person in Hradec Králové, 30 and 31 May on our air show.
No, perfect. My pleasure, Jan. We'll see you soon.
Yeah, look forward to.